Why, hello there everyone, I'm Laxow, aka the Kumo Sensei. Minasan, ohayou gozaimasu. And today we're going to be focusing on our Theraphosa blondi, also known as the Goliath Bird Eater. And yes, this tarantula molted, and my goodness, this is an impressive molt. So without further ado, let us get straight into it. So this female here was actually in pre-molt for quite some time. I'd say 3 to 5 months, so she went a long while without eating. And don't worry everyone, don't worry, tarantulas have very slow metabolisms. And this female was pretty plump, so she went a long time without eating. And even now, she looks pretty good, so I'm not too worried about her starving. And some people have left comments worrying about their tarantulas not eating, and I've always said this: if your tarantula has a decent sized abdomen, as in it's pretty plump and looks pretty good, and it doesn't eat, I wouldn't really be too concerned, because some of my adults are fed once every month to once every 2 months, because I don't want them to get obese, because you want a healthy sized tarantula now, so you don't really want an overly sized abdomen, because that really isn't healthy. Just like humans, there's a fine balance between being too big and being too skinny. So basically, since this tarantula has just recently molted, it's going to take a couple of weeks, maybe a couple of months before she's fully recovered enough to eat. We'll just have to wait and see. I will try the next 2 weeks to feed her, but if she doesn't eat, I'm not going to be too worried. But allow me to explain why I'm showing you the molting mat. Theraphosa's actually make very interesting molting mats. Once they make their molting mats out of webbing, then they will pretty much cover it up with their own fuzz or urticating hairs. And I guess that's a way of self-defense while they're vulnerable molting. I'll tell you, the moment I opened this enclosure, urticating hairs, I can literally feel it fly in my face. It's pretty funny because I don't see any urticating hairs floating around when I open the enclosure. So typically when I open an enclosure and there's a lot of urticating hairs, usually I'll see them fly out. But in this case, I didn't see any, but I can feel it, and man, it hurts. You see, the thing is that urticating hairs for Theraphosa, they're pretty much easy to blow off, so even the most gentlest breeze, such as opening the enclosure, can just cause like a whirlwind of urticating hairs fly everywhere. So that's why I was feeling it. But I'd say the radius of this molting mat is about 7 to 8 inches wide, so it's a relatively large molting mat in terms of space, volume, and urticating hairs used. And now I'm showing everyone this molt of this Theraphosa blondi, and this molt is so large and it looks so alien-like. It's amazing to look at, honestly. But I do have to measure this molt, so I am going to spread this molt out, and I have to say I did not touch this molt at all because it was covered in urticating hairs. Although it may not look like it, I really didn't want to touch it because I don't want to get all itchy and feeling it for the next couple of days. So let us discuss about urticating hairs for a second, because it can be quite confusing to understand why some people have really bad reactions. Now it could be allergic reactions, but it really varies from person to person. But to put it simply, the more you get exposed to a certain species of urticating hairs, the worse it gets in terms of reaction. Basically, what I'm saying is that over time, if you get exposed to a certain species that you have, such as, let's just say Brachypelma hamori, the more urticating hairs you get exposed to it over time, the more reactive it becomes on you. And I don't know why that is. Usually over time you build a resistance to things, but urticating hairs is kind of the opposite, and Theraphosas are a great example of this. The more times you get exposed to urticating hairs, the worse it gets. And this doesn't happen overnight or in a couple of months. It usually happens over the years. Now for me personally, in terms of my reactions, I don't really have too strong of a reaction to urticating hairs. It's really just a simple itch and then just wash it off with warm water and then just call it a day, but to each their own. Some people may have really bad reactions, and if you have very soft skin, oh boy, I'll tell you, Theraphosas is probably not the species you want to keep because their hairs are, I don't know how to put it, it is stinging and itchy at the same time. It stings, it's crazy. But take that with a grain of salt, and as I stated, to each their own. But anyhow though, I do want to show you guys this tarantula spermatheca, or the female parts. So to put it safely, I guess, I don't want to go too far in terms of explanation, but to put it in simple terms, this is what a female tarantula will have, and essentially this is to hold sperm. And I don't want to get into the nitty-gritty process because then it becomes more of a scientific paper, and I don't want to go too in-depth about that, but only females will have this, and this is one of the few ways you can sex a tarantula, is by using their molts and seeing if they have a spermatheca. Now granted, size and species will vary in terms of spermatheca shape, size, and development. This is an adult female, so it's pretty clearly obvious to see that she has a spermatheca that's fully developed, insinuating a mature female. But I don't want to get too in-depth about how to sex a tarantula because there's already so many sources out there on the internet that will teach you how to do so. But anyhow though, now I'm going to be measuring this tarantula's molts. I thought this tarantula was 6 inches in leg span. Turns out it's about 7 inches in leg span, a little over actually, but very large female, and given how big she is now, who knows. But this female is a mature female, so I would actually breed her with my male. And for those who didn't see me unbox that male, I'll leave a video in the top right, so go check it out. So yeah everyone, 18 centimeters or 7 inches in leg span. And I am trying to include the other measuring systems as well, because I do have viewers from around the world, and I don't want them to be doing conversions online, because then that will make it too complicated for them. So I am trying to include other measuring units to help them out. So yeah, everybody's included. And I am familiar with the metric system, but here in the United States, we don't really use that. We use the imperial measuring system, and I will try to include both systems, so that way it becomes a bit more easier for people overseas. But as for me and some other Asian people, we're used to the metric system, so I wouldn't really mind using both. It's just the fact that I live in the United States, so I use the imperial system at times. But I do use centimeters though, and not just inches at times. So if you made it this far, I want to give a quick disclaimer. This week I'm super busy, and I did just lost one of my jobs. So I still have my other jobs, but I lost one of them, and I'm trying to get it back. It doesn't pay well, but it is a passion of mine for that one job. So I'm trying to get it back. So this week I'm going to be super busy, and I'm going to try to work things out. So if Friday the video is late by a day, then I apologize. It's just a little disclaimer here. But without further ado, as always, the typical, please feel free to like, comment, and subscribe to stick around. I upload every single Tuesday and Friday here on the channel, and support me on social medias such as my IG and Patreon. Links to everything is down below. And with that, stay lax and Laxow out from the Kumo Sensei.